Today, we're counting down 10 ancient ocean monsters that were actually real. Let's start with something that looks like it came from a monster movie. Meet Dunkleosteus, a giant armored fish that ruled the oceans long before dinosaurs existed. This wasn't a normal fish. It was basically a living tank. Its head was covered in thick armor plates, and instead of normal teeth, it had sharp blade-like edges made from its own jaw plates. Dunkleosteus could grow around 30 feet long, and it had one of the strongest bites of its time. The scary part, it didn't need to chase everything. It was built to attack, a slow-moving armored predator with a bite designed to crush anything unlucky enough to get close. The ocean was already terrifying, and dinosaurs hadn't even appeared yet. Now imagine a whale, but instead of eating tiny animals, it hunted other whales. Meet Livyatan, a giant prehistoric predator that lived millions of years ago. It was over 50 feet long, and it had huge teeth, not small filter-feeding teeth, actual giant teeth built for grabbing prey. Some of its teeth were among the largest ever found in a predator. Livyatan was basically the ocean's version of a super predator, a giant hunter, fighting in a world where even whales could be dangerous. Because in the ancient ocean, being big wasn't enough. You needed weapons, and Livyatan had plenty. Now we reach one of the most famous ocean predators ever, the Megalodon, a shark so huge it almost doesn't feel real. This giant predator could grow over 50 feet long. That's longer than a school bus. And its teeth were massive. Some were bigger than a human hand. But the terrifying part wasn't just its size. It had the bite force to crush through powerful prey. Megalodon lived in oceans filled with giant whales and marine animals. It wasn't just another shark. It was one of the ultimate predators Earth ever created. And the crazy thing? It disappeared only a few million years ago, meaning this monster existed much more recently than many dinosaurs. But giant sharks weren't the only monsters in the ocean. Meet Mosasaurus, a massive marine reptile that ruled ancient seas. It wasn't a dinosaur, but it lived during the same time, and it was a terrifying hunter. Mosasaurus could grow over 40 feet long, with powerful jaws, sharp teeth, and a body built for chasing prey underwater. Imagine a giant lizard. That evolved into a sea monster. That's basically what happened. The ocean was filled with creatures that looked impossible, and Mosasaurus was one of the biggest reasons why. Now, imagine a predator, built like a submarine, with jaws like a crocodile. Meet Kronosaurus, a giant marine reptile that lived millions of years ago. It could grow over 30 feet long, and its head was basically a weapon. Kronosaurus had massive teeth designed for grabbing prey. Its powerful body helped it move through the water like a living missile. It hunted fish, squid, and other marine creatures, and possibly even other reptiles. The scary part, it wasn't just big, it was built to attack in the ancient ocean. Something was always watching. Some ocean monsters were not huge because they had armor or giant teeth. Some were terrifying because they were built for speed. Meet Xiphactinus, a giant predatory fish that looked like a prehistoric torpedo. It could grow over 15 feet long, with a long body, powerful tail, and a mouthful of sharp teeth. This fish didn't slowly hunt. It was built to chase. It could strike prey quickly and swallow animals whole. And here's the strangest part. Scientists have found fossils of Xiphactinus with other fish still inside them, meaning this predator sometimes ate meals almost as big as itself. The ancient ocean had no rules. Now let's talk about something that proves not every ocean giant was a predator. Meet Livyatan, one of the largest fish ever discovered. This creature could reach incredible sizes, possibly over 40 feet long, making it larger than many sharks. But here's the surprising part. It wasn't hunting giant prey. Livyatan was a filter feeder. It ate tiny organisms from the water. Basically, a giant peaceful fish the size of a monster. And that's what makes it so strange. Because nature didn't only create giant killers, sometimes it created enormous creatures that were just floating through the ocean. Now imagine a creature that looks like a dolphin, but the size of a bus. Meet Kronosaurus, one of the largest marine reptiles ever discovered. This giant ichthyosaur could grow over 50 feet long. It had a streamlined body built for swimming, and huge eyes that may have helped it see see in deep water, but despite looking terrifying, it probably wasn't a monster hunter. Like many ocean giants, it was likely eating smaller prey, which creates a strange picture. A massive creature moving through the dark ocean, not as a killer, but as a giant of the ancient seas. Now let's go back even further, before dinosaurs. Before giant marine reptiles, there were creatures that looked like they belonged in a nightmare. Meet Pulmonoscorpius, a giant ancient scorpion. And unlike the small scorpions we see today, this one could grow over 2 feet long. Its claws were powerful. Its tail carried a huge stinger. And it lived in a world where giant insects and strange arthropods were everywhere. The weirdest part, this was a time when Earth was experimenting with enormous versions of creatures we know today. Basically, nature looked at a normal scorpion and decided it needed an upgrade. And finally, we have one of the most recognizable ocean creatures ever, Plesiosaurus, a reptile with a body that looked almost impossible. A small head, a long neck, and 4 powerful flippers. For years, people thought it looked so strange that it inspired legends of sea monsters. But it wasn't a myth. It was a real animal. Plesiosaurus lived in ancient oceans and used its long neck to search for prey. It wasn't the biggest predator in the sea, but it was one of the strangest. A creature that looks like fiction, but came straight from Earth's history. So let's review what we just saw. A fish with armor and crushing jaws. A whale-sized predator with giant teeth. A shark bigger than a bus. A giant sea reptile. A massive filter-feeding fish. And creatures that look like they came from another world. But here's the crazy part. These weren't monsters. They were animals, just like the creatures alive today. They were simply adapted to a different Earth. An Earth where the oceans were filled with giant predators, strange hunters, and unbelievable experiments of evolution. The ancient sea wasn't a fantasy world. It was real, and somehow, reality was even stranger. The next time someone says prehistoric life was just dinosaurs, remember the ocean, because beneath the waves, Earth created some of the strangest creatures ever. Animals with giant teeth, massive bodies, and designs that look impossible, but every single one was real. And the craziest part, the ocean is still hiding secrets. New fossils are discovered, new species are found, and every discovery reminds us we have only seen a small piece of Earth's story, because the history of life is always stranger than fiction.